Hello and welcome to another RaceRoom video. We're back for another crack at ranked racing, coming to you today from Zandvoort, where we're going to take the WTCRs for a dash through the dunes. Now, these World Touring Car classes always guarantee some intense door-to-door racing, and knowing how difficult it is to pass around Zandvoort in any car class, I think we can expect a really tough battle. We've qualified 12th on the grid, so we're going to be slap bang in the middle of the pack in this one, so I think that swapping a bit of paint is going to be inevitable over these first few laps. We're about 1.5 seconds off the pole position man, but having said that, we are less than half a second from the driver in 7th, so there's all to play for here. It's going to be a really close race, so let's get over to the grid and see what we can do to keep our run of good form going. And straight away I noticed that the driver in 11th didn't take to the grid, so that's given us a position already, and it also opens up a little bit more space as we get off the line using that traction control, and we got away really well. We've already left Loza for dead, so straight away we're up to 10th. Now I'm just going to try and tuck in behind my fellow Honda Civic driver, Cordero, in front, but as you can see a little bit further ahead, another Civic gets a little clip and it nudges him onto the grass, and he rejoins right in front of me. I just managed to get the corner turned tightly enough to tuck it around the inside, and we get past him, so now we're up to 9th. And already in the rearview mirror you can see Roland in that Honda. He's now rubbing doors with Herrera in the Cupra Leon, so I'm hoping that they're going to slow each other down a bit just to give me a bit of breathing room. Already Cordero ahead has opened up the best part of a second on me, so it's looking like it might be a bit of a tough challenge to stick with him. However, the cars are grouped tightly together ahead, and this being a WTCR race, the chances are that pack is not going to spread out too much. These guys are all going to be battling, and that will play into my hands. It should help me keep with them and hopefully challenge for a top 8 position. The cars are all concertina back closer together as we approach this tight section of turns, as we see Michael Wokier run it a little bit wide into that left-hander. Is that going to invite Cordero to make a move up the inside? It doesn't look like he's close enough. However, we are getting closer. We're within 0.4 of a second of Cordero now as we approach this chicane, and this is where it gets really tight. Cordero runs in a little bit deep. He's now going to have a look on the inside to try and get around Wokier, but he's just not got the drive. I had to get off the gas a bit too, and that invites Roland to charge up alongside me. He's on the outside here, and I try my best not to run him onto the gravel and hold a tighter line, but he's really brave. He's not letting off the gas. He's still alongside me as we come out of the final turn. However, he just hasn't got the power to get alongside me, and in the end he thinks better of it. He decides to tuck back in behind me to get a bit of extra draft, but he's going to pull out to the inside now and try and make a move up the inside into T1, and so does Herrera. Herrera's Cupra Leon taking full advantage of the gap that Roland's pass left, and he jumps through too. But now I'm going to try and fight back on the inside and try and get past Roland, but he's just not giving me the space. We rub doors. I give him a bit of a tap as well, so that's the first incident points on the board. 4 points for both myself and Roland, but we lost 2 positions there just by not defending well enough. We dropped from 9th to 11th, but you'll see that we immediately gained a position back because the black Renault Megane of Paul Martin was in the gravel at T1. And look in the rearview mirror, we lose someone else. That's Loza crashing out big time, and it looks like Fab almost went with him as well, but we're going to gain a position back in the meantime because Herrera has also run it wide, just clipped that gravel, and it cost him all his momentum. So now we're back into 9th, and we're right on Roland's tail again. Can we get back around him? And as you come to expect with any WTCR race in RaceRoom, the first couple of laps are always complete pandemonium, but it's just starting to settle down a little bit now, so it gives us a good chance to go back and check out a replay of what went down on those opening 2 laps. And as the lights go green, take a look at the black Renault Megane that moves to the centre of your screen. That's Paul Martin, our SCB community member, who made an absolute flyer of a start from 6th on the grid. Just behind him, we see that Honda Civic get clipped from behind, which sends him onto the infield. And there's the rejoin right in front of me, but I managed to switch and get around the other side of him. It's fantastic to see such a stacked grid for these WTCR races. Zandvoort's tight and twisty at the best of times, and when you've got 27, 28 cars charging around, lap 1 is always spectacular viewing. And at this point, I actually had a little gap open up both in front and behind me, which was very unexpected for lap 1, but we'll fast forward half a lap. As we approach this chicane, things get a lot tighter. Look at Cordero in front, just trying to get a tight line to make a pass, but almost gets onto the gravel. And then behind, I've got Roland having a look around the outside. Now, I wasn't at all concerned at this point because I had the inside line. I thought, there's no way he's getting around there. I tried not to push him out too wide, but he didn't give it up. Look at that, as we accelerate down towards the start-finish straight. He's still not giving it up. Just when I think I might not be able to shake him, he decides to tuck back in behind me just to get a bit more draft and then pull out again onto the inside, but he also takes Herrera with him. They both have a look up the inside as I leave too big a gap. And there we see Paul Martin on the gravel. We'll come back and take a look at that incident a little bit later on, but for now we'll focus on this three-way battle in front as I try and tuck it up the inside of Roland, but there just wasn't the space to get it done. And now we've got Loza trying to take advantage too and pulling up alongside me in that beautiful green and black livery. He's trying his best to get alongside, but he just hasn't quite got the grunt to do it. We'll stick with Loza for a little bit longer because his race is going to come to a dramatic conclusion right about now. Look at him get all out of shape. And my first instinct was that he must have got clipped from behind to lose it that dramatically. So let's just jump on board with the driver right behind him. Was there any contact, or did Loza lose it all of his own doing? And yeah, look at that, he did lose it all on his own. And in fact, Fab, the driver behind, almost lost it as well, trying to get out the way, but somehow he saved that. Really good work to avoid spinning out there. And yeah, as we see Loza exit stage left again in the background, we can also see Herrera just run it a little bit wide on the exit of that turn. He gets all four tyres onto the grass, so he has no choice but to ease off and lose the positions. Back to the race, and we rejoin a lap later. We're about a third of the way through this race now, and I've managed to bridge a gap of about a second to Herrera behind, so that's a little bit of breathing room. And now I'm hoping that Cordero and Roland in the two Honda Civics can start taking chunks out of each other. Take a look at Roland. He's going to have a look up the inside as Cordero runs it in deep, and he's going to make that pass stick, or is he? Cordero may have run it in deep, but he's certainly got the better exit, and that speed has helped him hold on to the 7th position, and it's also brought me right in touch with Roland now. I'm going to have a look to see if I can find a way through, but it's unlikely because these two are side by side going into the final turn as Roland gets the pass up the inside, but it's at the expense of corner exit speed. So now Cordero has the drive to get back alongside. There's nothing I can do now. There's no room to get around, so I'm just going to have to sit back as we get a little bit caught out by Cordero's drop in speed, and I give him a tap. That's 4 more incident points for the bank. That mistake was on me. I probably should have been a bit more cautious breaking into turn 1, knowing how close those two guys in front were battling. Meanwhile, take a look in the rearview mirror. We've got Herrera right back on our tail again now. That second advantage that we built up has been wiped out in the space of a few corners because of that tussle with the two Honda Civics in front of me. It's so hard to pass around here. Sometimes you've just got to hope for a mistake to be made in front of you, and my wish almost comes true here. Look at Cordero get it all out of shape. He just manages to save it, but I'm right on his tail now, and I decide to have a look up the inside. It probably wasn't going to work because Cordero didn't leave the room, and I couldn't barge my way through. And now we've got Herrera looking up on my inside, so I run it a bit wide just in case he's there, but he eases off. I wasn't too worried about running it wide there because I knew I had the inside line for this turn, and you're not going to pass around the outside of that left-hander, so I've managed to hold my position, and I'm going to try and defend now if Herrera comes back for another pop at the chicane, but it looks like he might be a bit too far away. He closes in a bit, but he's not close enough to make a pass. So I just need to get on the gas as quickly as I can on exit, keep off the grass. I've managed to keep a bit of pace, and now that gap to Herrera is back up to 0.6, 0.7 now. I think one of the few safe and clean overtaking opportunities on this Zandvoort track is down the start and finish straight, pulling out of the draft and taking that inside line into turn 1. We saw me lose 2 positions in one go from it a couple of laps ago, but on this occasion I'm not quite close enough to Cordero to get in his draft. But at this point I can't really see an obvious opportunity where I've got the speed to be able to get around him. I do feel like I'm a little bit faster than both these guys, but just not fast enough to overtake them at Zandvoort. Oh, and we get really close to Cordero again there, and he actually runs onto the grass on exit, so that's going to cost him a little bit of speed, and that gives me the chance to get really tight behind. Now I want to stay in his draft and stay as close as possible, obviously without hitting him, but stay as close as possible and hopefully still be there at the end of the lap, because I want to try and get in his draft out of the final turn and hopefully try and pull off that move up the inside into turn 1. But as you can see, that plan's already unravelling. We're just starting to lose a tenth or two through this section. So now I'm hoping again that the two guys in front will slow each other down to give me a chance of bridging that gap again. But take a look in the rearview mirror, we're going to lose Herrera. He runs wide into that left-hander, and that's cost him a heap of time. He's now more than a second back. So yeah, let's go back and check out a replay of some of that battle, because it really was enthralling stuff. We've got Roland and Cordero side by side coming into T1. I had no choice but to sit behind. Certainly didn't want to make it 3 wide into that corner. Right there is where I give Cordero the tap. That's what earned the extra 4 incident points. But there was no harm done. It didn't seem to affect either of us as we race around this tight section of turns. And as you can see now, Herrera is right on my tail. So we're in a 4-way battle at the moment for this 7th position, and it's really entertaining stuff. We saw Cordero get a bit out of shape on this corner a couple of laps ago, but look at him now drifting it around. Class from Cordero. It really is one of the most fun corners on the track, that one. When you get it right, it feels so good. But I'm getting the sense now that Cordero is just a touch faster than Roland, and he's getting a little bit impatient that he can't find a way around. But as we've said time and time again, passing at Zandvoort is no easy task. And I'm just going to lose a bit of touch here because I just drift in a little bit too deep. I managed to pull it back and make the apex, but at the expense of a few tenths. So I'm hoping that I can claw that gap back through the chicane if these two guys get too close to each other. But Cordero's just hanging back a little bit as well. He wants to concentrate on exit speed, and he's done it well, so we're still 0.8 of a second behind these two now. However, Cordero runs in just a little bit hot into that penultimate turn. He has to get off the gas so he can make the apex, and that's finally given me the chance to get behind him. This is the closest we've been on the run through to the start-finish straight. So are we close enough to use the draft and pull up alongside? I don't think I am. I'm going to have a slight look just in case, but no, we're nowhere near. So I'm going to tuck back in and hopefully do a better job this time of staying on his tail. I don't want to make any mistakes and lose a tenth or two. I want to be as close as I can when we get into the same position on the next lap. But no sooner do I say that than I make 2 simple mistakes. Firstly, I clip the curb on the inside. That unsettles the car, sends me out a bit wider than I'd like, and then I clip the grass on the outside, which costs me my exit speed. So straight away, that gap's opened up again, and it's half a second. Also, take a look at the gap between Cordero and Roland. That's up to more than half a second as well. So for the first time in this race, there's a bit of daylight between the 3 cars. And that's not going to help me because I was relying on Cordero and Roland battling with each other to slow each other down. So I really need Cordero to pull that gap back to Roland, so I'm not going to try and apply too much pressure. I want Cordero to concentrate on the car in front, and he's doing just that. Look, he's going to make a move up the inside. He's bridged that gap, and they touch, and that sends Roland out wide. Cordero's got 7th place. Roland has to get off the gas because he's drifted too wide, and that should give me the chance to reel them both in as we approach the chicane. I need to get this one spot on, and I do. I keep my line tight. I need a good exit as well, but we're right on Roland's tail now, so let's try and stick with him. If my assumption that Cordero was a little bit faster was right, we might see him start to clear off now. But if I can stick close enough to Roland on the exit of this final turn, we might have the draft and the pace to get around him up the inside. We're as close as we're ever going to be, so let's give it a try. Timing is of the essence when you pull off a move like this because you need as much draft as possible, but also you don't want to leave it too late and run out of straight. I'm not quite there, but I've committed to it now, so I'm going to try and hold the inside line. To be fair to Roland, he gives me all the space I need, and I do drift a little bit, having clipped that inside curb. We make a little bit of contact, but not enough for any incident points, and Roland's held onto the position. I tried as hard as I could to make that move stick then, but I just didn't have the pace. And taking a little bit too much of that inside curb at T1 has also proved costly. I lost a lot of speed, and as a result, that gap to Roland is now half a second again. And just looking at the clock, we've got a minute and a half left, so time is running out. Just as I think I might have to settle for 9th place, we see the yellow flags come out, and that's Michael Wokier who's crashed out of 5th position. We're up to 8th. Let's check out the replay to see what happened, but before we do, we'll just take a quick look at my failed overtake attempt into T1. I've pulled alongside Roland here, but I'm just not quite far enough ahead. I'm committed to the move by now, but I try and take the inside. I'm conscious of not running into Roland, and I end up taking too much curb. There is a little bit of contact, but like I said before, nothing too severe. And as we see from on board Roland's car, he gives me all the space I need. Really respectful driving there. He knew I was coming, and there's the contact, but it didn't seem to unsettle either of us. And yeah, while all that was going down, Michael Wokier was actually in a really comfortable 5th position. He's under no pressure, but he carries a lot of speed into this fast right-hander, and it's on the verge of being one of the most spectacular drifts you'll see. But unfortunately for Wokier, his rear tyre just gets onto the grass and sends the car out. Now, I'm going to leave the replay running for just a little bit longer here because I do like to recognise safe rejoins on this channel, and Wokier does exactly that here. He's just crashed out of 5th position. There's only a lap to go and the adrenaline's pumping. It would be so tempting just to rejoin as quickly as possible and risk crashing into the oncoming traffic, but Wokier does exactly the right thing, even though he knows he's sacrificing his own race. So for that, I salute you, sir. Anyway, back to the live action, and we're on to the final lap now, and we've just got a few corners to go, so my hopes of anything better than 8th position have all but evaporated. I'm relying on Roland or Cordero to make a mistake, and the fact that they've gone the entire 15 minutes without making one, I think I'd be very surprised if they make one now. So yeah, we're just going to follow these two Honda Civics home and take 8th position, which actually I'm really happy with. Qualifying down in 12th, I thought that I could push for a top 10, and we've managed to get one. Now, we mentioned earlier in the video about Paul Martin, one of our fellow SCB community members, and Paul qualified really well, started 6th on the grid, and made an even better start. But then at the end of lap 1, we saw him stuck in the gravel there at T1, so let's go back and check out the replay, see what happened. Paul's in the black Renault Megane, and the number 55 is going to make a move up the inside. Oh, but he can't stop it. Runs out wide, and Paul's got nowhere to go. He's pushed out into the sand. Let's just ride on board with the 55 and we'll see him pull out to the inside and try and make the move, but he's not quite close enough. He's not alongside, so instead he tries to brake later, but that means he can't make the apex. He runs out wide, runs into Paul and barges Paul into the gravel. So what did that 8th place do for my rating? Well, it's given it a huge boost again. We managed to pick up 20 points for that result, and I'm up to 1,614 now. So for the first time in a long time, I'm back up above that 1,600 mark. And with a reputation of 93 as well now, I'm really happy with the progress I'm making on the RaceRoom ranked servers in recent weeks. I'm in a good run of form. And there we see the classified results, and it looked like a good battle at the front as well, with Ndara the winner. He was only 2 seconds ahead when he crossed the line to take the checkered flag, so I imagine there was some pretty close racing going on at the front of the pack. Paul Martin had to settle for 15th in the end after being pushed off into the gravel at T1, and that's really unfortunate because I fancy that he had the pace to be right amongst that podium battle. But it's good to see Paul back on the RaceRoom servers. I hope that incident hasn't put him off. He's one of the most active and entertaining members of our SCB community, and he hosts our Friday night community races as well. And if you want to get involved in any of those, feel free to come and say hi. There's an invitation in the description to this video. Take care, guys. See you soon. Cheers.